Hey, it's Ian. I'm the pastor at Fabric in Minneapolis. I'm so excited to welcome you to another episode of the Fabric Podcast. This one is right in the middle of our 2-week series that we're calling Flourishing Forward. That's really centered on social innovation for human flourishing. And I've been taking inspiration. We've been kind of thinking a little bit about John 10:10, where Jesus explains part of his why for coming among people. And what he says is that I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly. And so it's not just like minimal effort kind of stuff. It's like abundance. We're talking about abundance. And so I'm really excited for the interview that I get to sit down with Carley Kammerer in just a minute here. Carley is the executive director and the founder of Wildflyer Coffee in Minneapolis. They have Minneapolis and St. Paul, actually. I've only been to the Minneapolis coffee shop, but it's a great coffee shop, good coffee. The vibes are immaculate. But what's really cool about Wildflyer Coffee is that they are training and employing and walking alongside these cohorts of young people who have experienced homelessness. And so not just meeting needs in the short term, but actually developing some really important soft skills and giving people that consistency of employment status and just kind of helping overcome some of the barriers that have been placed by the systems that we have in place to kind of stop the cycle of homelessness. We know that one of the most expensive things in the world, one of the most expensive things, certainly in the United States, is to be poor. So really grateful for Carley, for Wildflyer Coffee, for the incredible staff that they have over at Wildflyer Coffee. If you have a chance, if you're in Minneapolis or St. Paul and need some coffee, I recommend their cold brew. It is just, it's special. So check out this conversation and learn from Carley. And thanks for being here with us for this episode of the Fabric Podcast. Okay, here we go. We're recording. I am so excited to be in conversation today with you, Carley. In the intro, I introduced you by name and your role with Wildflyer, but I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and the story of how Wildflyer Coffee came to be.
Thank you for having me here today. So yeah, my name is Carley, and I am one of the co-founders and current CEO of Wildflyer Coffee. And Wildflyer is a nonprofit social enterprise coffee company that exists to create employment for youth experiencing homelessness. So it's kind of two strands of my life that wove together into one. So the coffee strand really started with my mom and my parents starting a coffee shop back in Wisconsin, where I'm from. I grew up as like a coffee baby. I've been drinking it since second or third grade, and I know it's not great. It's very questionable parenting, but here we are. It was really so my mom passed away when I was 19, and at her funeral, everyone's stories were really centered and rooted in the coffee shop, and they were about like how either if they were an employee, how working at the coffee shop made them feel dignity, a part of something, value, belonging, how, if they were a customer, how like coming in and being remembered by name made them feel like they belonged, how if they come in on a bad day, she'd stepped out from behind the bar and like taken the time to connect with them. And it just really struck me that like after someone was gone, her legacy had been rooted in love, but it was carried through coffee. Like her legacy was using coffee to create belonging. And so just this like seed of an idea of like, how can I use coffee for more was planted. And then after that experience, I then went on to get my major in social work and fell into working with youth experiencing homelessness and began to work here in the cities as a case manager and an outreach worker and in homeless shelters, and really started to see the same youth in all of these programs. And they were like bouncing around and kind of in and out of programs. And really, it was one day I'd been working with the same young man named Jeff for about 4 years, and he was the first client I'd ever had. And after working together for 4 years, he came back to the drop-in center one day, and he was Like, I'm homeless again. I need help. And I was just driving home that day after reopening this case for what felt like the 50th time. And I was just like, man, I'm super frustrated. Why? And for a lot of the young people like Jeff, it was just employment. There was just like no stability because there was no stable employment. And it wasn't because they didn't want to work. It was just because they like had so many external or internal barriers that keeping stable employment was really hard. And then without that, it just didn't really matter what else we were doing because they just couldn't ever get to a place of self sustainability and independence.
Mm.
And so I kind of just was like, someone needs to help support them in employment. And I don't quite know how that evolves to like, I will help support them in employment. But suddenly I was just like, I'm going to start a coffee. I'm going to use coffee to create employment for youth experiencing homelessness because I saw what I could do and I saw the need. And here we are. So at the time, I had a business partner who brought some skills I was lacking, and we started as a cart. We built a cart and went to farmers markets and started really small and employed a couple of youth every summer. And we did that for 4 years and built up a following and a small brand. And then we ended up getting into our first shop in South Minneapolis in December 2020, which was just a very bizarre time to open a business.
Yeah. Weird time. Yeah.
And then we opened another one in St. Paul in 2023. So now we have 2 cafes and we do a 4-month work experience and we work with about 50 youth every year through that.
Wow. That seems like that Frederick Buechner quote about like the definition of vocation being like where the world's deepest need and your deepest joy intersect or whatever. Something along those lines, but like it sounds like from a very early age, you kind of knew that these are the worlds that you kind of wanted to be.
I really found my little niche in the world.
Yeah. Can I ask a really like 101 level question? You were talking about problem, the barrier for young people who had experienced homelessness wasn't that they didn't want to work. It was other barriers. Like what kind of
Yeah,
tangibly, like what kind of barriers are those?
yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So externally, it's things like some of the young people I would work with didn't even have their vital documents. And that was just a nightmare because to get your birth certificate, you need your social security card. And to get that, you need your birth certificate.
Yeah.
And so you end up just running around trying to figure out how to get these documents using other documents. If you don't have an address, it's like, what are you putting on your applications? Some of the youth we worked with, aren't legal citizens. So trying to figure that out if you don't have the documents you need. It's hard maintaining employment if you're couch hopping or just don't have stable housing. Like if you get a job
Hmm.
Brooklyn Center, and that's where you're couch hopping at the time, but then you get kicked out, and the place you end up staying at is in South Minneapolis, and you're on public transit. Like you're not, you're
Yeah.
likely just gonna start no showing and get fired. And so that happened just like all the time. It wasn't even that they couldn't get the job. It was just often that they would lose it very quickly. And so there's just like so much instability. It just never really got them anywhere because the external issues were so high. And then the internal ones, a lot of youth just didn't always have the soft skills that employers were looking for. So, like what we do at
Mm.
Wildflyer is a lot of coaching on what seems like a given are really basic skills around like communication and time management and teamwork and things that they're just young people. So that's
Yeah. There's that.
a lot of young people don't even have those skills. And then you're compounding that with like people who are in survival mode and have been deeply traumatized. And so a lot of youth come in with a lot of mental health struggles. So you're just dealing with like a lot of these internal and external things. And if you're an employer trying to make money, you're probably not going to take the time to wonder why your youth is 2 hours late or
Mhm.
coming in and like freaking out on you about something. Whereas we're like, okay, you're having a meltdown. Why? And when we learn it's because, oh, you got kicked out of where you were staying last night. and you're taking it out on us, and that's very inappropriate, and we're going to like coach you on that, but we're not going to,
Yeah.
we're going to like talk about how to do that better. So that's kind of what the cycle was.
Ooh, that's great. You've already kind of hinted at this a little bit, but I'm just curious to hear from you. Like around fabric right now, we're talking about the idea of flourishing and um, specifically like social innovation for human flourishing. And a big part of that, like a big part of the sort of measurable of social innovation is impact. And to hear from you what the impact of Wildflyer has been, what that's looked like in the lives of your participants.
Yeah. So we do have, I should have pulled this up. Sorry. You can edit this
That's all
out.
right. Yeah.
Let me pull up our annual report here.
Yeah.
So we have a 75% success rate, which just means that 75% of our youth have graduated from our program, which we feel very proud about because most of our young people have like are experiencing homelessness at least 3 times, even as well within our program. And so we love knowing that even though they're going through that level of instability, they're still prioritizing showing up.
Mm.
We measure the increase in job readiness, I guess, through like our job readiness assessment. And so that's how we kind of are tracking those soft skills. Like, are you increasing in growth there? And we've had an 85% increase in that. These are our 2024 outcomes. So an 85% increase in those skills going up from like the time you entered the program to the time they left. And then
Wow.
last year, actually 100% of the youth who left our program at their 3-month post-graduation check-in were either employed, enrolled in education, or continuing to work with one of our job coaches. So I think the long-term impact of our program is really important, like not just that youth are doing well while they're with us, but that they're able to transfer those skills into mainstream employment. So I think the numbers are really important. Of course, everyone wants to see the data, but I think when I think of flourishing, what feels really meaningful to me is that Wildflyer is a space of dignity for a lot of youth.
Hmm.
That's really why I believe in the employment model. I think that inherently charity nonprofit models can be a little bit, I mean, right, people are coming to us for resources and we have the resources and we can turn them away or give what,
Hmm.
it's not equitable, and there's like a power dynamic at play, and employment somewhat changes that because we really rely on our youth to run our business, and so they're a part of our team and we need them just like they need us. And so I think a sense of teamwork and dignity comes from that I haven't seen in some of the other nonprofits I've worked at. And I was just interviewing one of our graduates, Daniel, the other day, and I had said, what from your time with us, from the training program, stuck out with you? And he said, as much as I love the work at Wildflyer, what stuck out the most was the community I was actually a part of and how they made me feel human again after literally an entire lifetime of dehumanization. And I know
Wow.
I had to stop. I was like, I have to stop this interview for a second.
I bet.
Because homelessness is dehumanizing, and it is dehumanizing to have to depend on others and not feel self-sufficient. And how many people on the streets that are, panhandling or begging, do we just avoid looking at it because they make us feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable? I always think about like what would that be like to live a whole day being avoided by society? Um,
Hmm.
and I think that's something that we are able to give back to youth that work at Wildfire, is they are back in community. And I
Yeah.
think that does a lot beyond just the like yeah, you graduated, you have a job, the numbers, we need to do that. I think when I think of flourishing, that quote is like, yeah,
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
more flourishing than that?
Yeah. I mean, to recognize the experience of being dehumanized and then to come to a realization that, oh, I'm being treated like a real human. That has to be just one of the best, most wonderful feelings. I mean, that's yeah, I have never been to the coffee shop in St. Paul, but come regularly to the one on Minnehaha Parkway in Minneapolis. Just knowing, having gotten to know like the mission and the work and like learning about the cohort model of all these kids that come in for a program for a period of time and then they graduate and they're like doing like you're handing off and training and walking alongside so many young people in a cyclical way all the time is I just love coming to your shop and being a part of that community because it's
Mhm.
dignifying and I can see the impact and over time like week by week you kind of
Mhm.
see kids who have been practicing new things and they're like growing in skills and like it's like oh this is just I so feel so proud of you. You don't know me, but I'm so proud of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So part of the reason that I wanted to connect with you, for one, is that we're doing this flourishing thing at Flourishing Forward series. And I think what you're doing is impactful in creating the conditions for human flourishing. So we've kind of talked a little bit about that. But I also wanted to talk with you because I got an email from Wildflyer and a few people from Fabric, where I work, where I serve as the pastor, have reached out to say they got the email from Wildflyer that you had some grant funding cut. And I would love to hear, first of all, to say I'm sorry on behalf of our entire community who really admire what you're doing and believe in it. But also, I just want to hear and let more people hear the story of what that funding was, how it got cut, and what that impact is on your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I know every nonprofit is like, what a year for us.
Yeah.
So in July, uh, we found out that we contract with the state, and that's our biggest contract, that it was cut in half. And we love them, but they were also late in telling us. So they told us after the grant term had technically started. So we also just didn't really have any lead time to know that was happening. So we were sort of already mid just doing the program when we found out that we had significantly less to work with. So
Mm.
it's a 2-year contract, so it was cut in half. So it was a $200,000 hole for 2 years. So I'm thinking about it as a $100,000 1 year hole.
Annual. Yeah.
So that feels
Yeah.
easier to manage.
Yeah.
And that supports our work and life skills program. So that directly supports the youth wages for youth to work in our shop, our program managers' wages, and the program leads who work alongside our youth and run our workshops, like the mental health one we do, financial literacy, and then it supports like the tangible services we give out, like gift cards and food and
Sure.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. So we are definitely, I hate this word because of the pandemic, talking about how to
Hmm.
pivot.
Yep.
Like back to this, guys, we have to pivot. It's pretty tough, like our budget's like 2 million. We're not a huge nonprofit, so it's a pretty big number for us to try to figure out how to fill.
Hmm.
And because, government, well, most grants and contracts really are direct program support. Unfortunately, it's always the programs that get hit the hardest, which is the worst because that's the point of what we're all doing.
Right.
So we're really trying to figure out, I mean, realistically, right now, we are going to serve a smaller cohort this fall. The cohort starts in September and it's smaller than we anticipated, which was hard because we did have to rescind some offers we'd sent to youth. And we're trying to
Mm.
figure out how to support them in other ways. But, it's always like that hard, like balancing current impact with long-term longevity of the organization. And we're just really talking about the likelihood of other funding sources continuing to go away because we have other government contracts on the line this fall, and just really needing to be realistic about being creative about how we deliver our program in other ways if things are going to continue
Yeah.
going the
Yeah.
way they're going.
Yeah.
So we're not like throwing out our program by any means. We're just kind of at a place of like, the current way we're doing things will probably be done smaller than we were doing it. And we will implement new ways of delivering employment services that may not look like a full employment opportunity in our cafes,
Yeah.
which is hard because that's what we do, and that's where we've seen such success. But we rely heavily on, it's called WIOA funds, and that's workforce innovation. And we get those through partner agencies who also just had all of those cut.
Rotten.
We're kind
Okay.
of, I feel like the whole like workforce development ecosphere in the Twin Cities overnight just suddenly was like, whoa, all of our funding just went away. So we're all like reaching out to each other and kind of saying, how are we all going, which is great. Like the collaboration is really great. We're all kind of thinking like, how do we do workforce development in a world where the funding has changed? So I'm not quite sure how it will look yet, but I think we'll all figure out how to do something. Yeah. So it
Yeah,
was
that's a lot.
hard.
Yeah. What I'm curious, well, first of all, I just want to honor that, like, you got the news you got, and instead of sort of licking your wounds quietly and privately, which maybe you did for a period of time, but then when the decision was to like share transparently, and I think there's a lot of organizations, corporate, there's a lot of nonprofits, there's a lot of religious nonprofits and churches who are not transparent about their finances and about what's happening, and letting people who care help and take ownership in that too, and like ensure that like this asset to our community continues. And so one of the things that you wrote about in the email was ways that your larger community can help, and in the Twin Cities certainly, but even probably, I'm guessing you're willing to take help from outstate and anywhere. So like, tell us about what you're hoping to see and the kind of support you're hoping to get.
Yes, I know. I was like, I don't know if I should put this out there, but I'm gonna put it out there and see what people do. People have been great.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I like to just, I don't know. I like to just be honest, I guess.
Yeah.
We are running what we've called Make the Switch campaign. So Wildflyer as a social enterprise, we do get half of our revenue, well, a little less, comes from our sales. So we get our earned income from our shops, our wholesale program, so selling to churches and businesses, and online sales we have a coffee subscription program called Jolts, and then just you can buy like one-off bags of coffee. And I guess I was like, you know what? Every nonprofit right now is asking their donors to give more, and we are asking our donors to give more. But it's a crowded marketplace for donations right now,
It
and
is.
the philanthropic world is struggling.
Yeah, we're feeling that pinch too, definitely.
Like
Yeah.
giving is down. That's just the trend. And so to me, it was like, let's really just think not to sound Pollyannish, but like every bad thing is an opportunity to like innovate. And so I was just like, let's lean on what we do have that's different and unique, and that is our social enterprise. And let's really try to lean into business development and sales, because not every coffee shop or not every nonprofit can do that, but we can do that. And people are still drinking coffee. Like we don't
Yeah,
care if
that's not
we
changing.
don't have the money in our budgets. We somehow find money to keep buying coffee.
Yeah.
So we are asking people to switch to Wildflyer Coffee, because you literally don't have to change anything in your life You don't have to give up anything. You don't have to give, you know, it's not a donation. We're just asking you to switch your coffee drinking habits to Wildflyer because you will still continue to make a big impact on our program, but it requires no sacrifice. It's a very easy win-win for us all. So obviously
And it's
coming
good coffee too.
good
It's like really
coffee.
good coffee. Yeah.
I have always been very passionate about like our product has to be good. I don't want to just be like the coffee's okay, but the mission's good. It's like no, we need good coffee.
Right.
So coming to the shops is a big help, but we've really been asking people to sign up for Jolt because the monthly revenue is really helpful for just sustainability, and you can get your coffee delivered weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly. And we've had almost 70 people switch already. Like the response was just kind of crazy.
Wow.
And we have a wholesale program. So if your church or office or community spaces use coffee, there's a spot on our website you can reach out to get more information about how to switch over to Wildflyer. And we obviously do like discounts for the bulk purchases, and we'll deliver it to you. So there's many ways to kind of, without disrupting your normal routine,
Hmm.
get coffee that tastes good and does good, which
Yeah.
we like.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
that is nice because you don't have to live in the neighborhood to get to our shops. We ship anywhere. We have people from all over the US that buy our coffee. I never know how they hear about us. We just have random people in other states that buy
Yeah.
our coffee. So I
That's
love
really
our
cool. And a good opportunity too for, like there's any number of people I see like in online spaces and stuff where, they don't ever come into Minneapolis, but they have thoughts about Minneapolis or they want to support Minneapolis or whatever. And Wildflyer in a lot of ways is worth supporting for a lot of those reasons. So yeah, I hope people hear that loud and clear. So if you're watching this later and you're anywhere, you can get coffee from Wildflyer.
just make the switch.
Yeah, just make the switch.
It really, like over a year, the impact of, I should have a summarize. The impacts of a monthly subscription supports a gift card for like interview clothes. The weekly subscription buys a whole cohort meals for their during their onboarding week, and the bi-monthly one supports transportation gift cards for 4 youth. So it really could supplement like the grant we got cut. We lost money for gift cards and all of that. So it really does like actually fill that gap. Um,
Yeah,
just by buying coffee.
I
We
love it.
make
And
it
where do we do it?
on our website, www.wildflyercoffee.com.
Great. Wildflyercoffee.com. Cool. Well, I know we're getting to the end of our time here, but is there anything else that you would want to tell the listening audience about Fabric, about to Fabric, or anyone else listening about Wildflyer? How we can support you, how we can follow your work, anything like that?
Yeah, please do follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Yes, sort of on TikTok, not really.
Yeah.
I'm too old for TikTok. Also obviously in the current times we're taking donations, but the coffee sales is huge. And please just help spreading the word. The social sharing is like a big one for sure. That is really helpful. And just thanks for like, that's really encouraging to hear that there are other people in the community who reached out to you about the email. I just love knowing that people are seeing it and responding because it's definitely a year where you can feel like you're kind of shouting into the void.
Yep, definitely. I mean, if nothing else, we'll tell the story as best we can about Wildflyer. And last year we partnered to do kind of a fundraising effort for during our annual chili cook-off. And just hearing the stories and building some relationships across our organizations felt really good. Yeah, I think just we'll tell that story as loudly as we can. Because you're part of our community, but also like I hope that you're feeling supported by a community and feeling like you're not totally alone. Like it's not just an empty void. There's a lot of ears on the other end of that void.
like this are helpful, and I will relay it to my staff because they are feeling a little run down too. I think, it's hard when you're working hard and then you kind of feel like your legs get knocked out from under you. So
Yeah.
let
It's
them know.
so real. Like when you're in the kind of like people facing work and like caring about people work, whether it's a coffee shop or a church, and you're just grinding all the time. You're literally grinding beans.
Yep.
But like it is constant work, and it can feel defeating to like have these kind of setbacks. But also my hope always is that when anybody feels that kind of like
Hmm.
the shadow of defeat coming on, like remembering that, like to the point of your kid, the quote that you gave, like to be seen again and to be humanized in the process and to be affirmed, that matters so profoundly. Yeah. So thank you for your time and for
You
being with us today. Yeah.
absolutely. I love.
Great. Well, wish you well, and hopefully we'll get an update very soon that like you met your budget needs for the year and the next year, and we're just feeling all right about it. Yeah, yeah. Here's to that.
Dream.
Yeah. Thank you, Carly.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks for joining this conversation, for being part of the Fabric podcast this week. And thank you to Carly and to Wildflyer for their work here in the Twin Cities, walking alongside of young people. It's really important work. And I hope I hope you heard that and agree with that. As always, we just hope that this podcast serves to start conversations for you. It's not the end all be all, but we hope that it helps to facilitate good conversations in your life. If you want to learn more about Fabric here in Minneapolis, we have an every week in-person gathering at 10 Sundays for all ages, birth all the way up, and we'd love to say hello. So if you want to learn more, you can visit fabricmpls.com. If you want to invest in this kind of community and make sure that this kind of experience has legs, has a lasting, sustainable future, you can look at fabricmpls.com/give. Otherwise, you can find us on social media, kind of all the social medias at Fabric MPLS. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful week. Take care.